this introduction. So I asked my friend to hop on and help us, inspire us and give us some ideas and pour into us. So he agreed to take time out of his busy schedule to do this. Just talking to him, I always get a lot of ideas. I always get a lot of inspiration, a lot of real life practical visions of what I'm even doing that I could do better and get better and, implement so that my business is more sustainable. So that's why I said the team needs to hear this. So let me go ahead and tell you about my friend, Mr. Raymond Brunner. We met, I want to say in about 2016, I think, and we were in business together in a previous business, and I saw him literally launch and grow this business to a I believe it was a six-figure income, a yearly six-figure income. So he's no stranger to our industry. However, being a father of two, he decided to go ahead and start his own company in 2017. He has a bachelor's degree in business administration with a concentration in project management. He is a strong advocate for integrity, hard work, dedication, and pushing the limits of his own imagination. He is an avid reader, and y'all know we always say the more you learn, the more you earn, right? He is an avid reader with an engaging personality, and he is mostly inspired by Robert Kiyosaki's cash flow quadrant. Listen, let me tell you, as you hear these books or names drop, write them down because this is something to go research. All right. Um, he uh, he is influenced by unconventional ideas and inventions. He enjoys thinking outside of the box, whether it is in his professional life or on a personal front. His personal mission is to help business owners, investors, and companies realize that they can succeed no matter what. So, welcome to tonight's training call. And that is my introduction. I see Mr. Raymond Brunner is in position to feed our minds tonight. As I stated before, please take your screen, turn your camera on if you can. Let's be attentive in this meeting tonight. And I'm going to step out the way and give him the floor.
Thank you very, very much. I really do appreciate it, Aisha. This is huge. This is huge. Thanks again, for entrusting your team with me. It's amazing to be on the line with you and all of your leaders. And I know that I'm speaking this correctly because you wouldn't have a call without leaders on the line, and the leaders wouldn't be missing or not in attendance. All right. If it makes up a team. Everybody who's here to get the information is definitely a leader. So listen, I'm not going to stay on here super long. I'm going to go ahead and really breeze through this quickly. My name is Raymond Brunner. I'm going to go through a quick introduction, who I am, how I got to this point, what I do in business, talk a little bit about how you and I met, and then I'm just going to breeze through the rest of it and talk about a couple of things, and I'll signpost those as we go through. So my name is Raymond Brunner from Baltimore, Maryland, originally. Um, Guys, I grew up here in Baltimore, been on my own since I was 13, 14 years old. Um, really wanted to find a way to really not be in a bad predicament, not to, continue to live life. So um, I always envisioned myself going into business and being an international business person, and that was really my dream when I was younger. But ended up going into the military, spending 4 years, 6 months, 3 days in the military, having a great time. Best thing that I'd never do again. Um, Got out of the military, went directly into defense contract, and worked for Halliburton for 6 years as a project manager building tactical fuel facilities around the globe. So really had some good hands-on experience learning some things. But here's one of the things that I learned. I learned that, large companies do what large companies do, and they have no regard for the people that's actually doing the work. So I was going to work every single day, working, busting my butt, working 12 hours a day, 84 hours a week. and all I was getting was a paycheck. I was getting no equity. I was building these tactical fuel facilities around the globe. I was leaving my family, not being with them, the whole 9 yards, and I wasn't getting any equity. So I said to myself, I have to do something different. And at the time, I had actually, uh, before I went to contracting, I actually purchased a piece of land. I read a book called The ABCs of Real Estate Investing by uh, one of Robert Kiyosaki's um, cash flow quadrant coaches or whatever the case might be. And it was a really good book, and it kind of shifted me mentally. And I said, okay, if these are the steps that I need to take, I'll take these steps. And I sold a piece of property. I mean, I bought a piece of property, and then I came home and sold that property. And that was the first time I made um, some significant cash flow. I made about $40,000 on that deal. But this is not a real estate call. This is a call, you know, to share some insights on business. And I really want you to key in on not the industry that that I'm going to be talking about per se until I tap into, networking, but the the things that I do to get to the next point, to get to the next place. So um I came home from contracting and I started doing this network marketing thing. It wasn't my first time. It was actually my third time. My first time in network marketing, I was 18 years old. I made $8 that whole year, but I met somebody dynamic. I met a millionaire that looked like me, and I was so excited. I was like, man, this guy had gone through the trenches and built his business, and he's sitting here talking to me, and he's a regular person. This guy's a regular person, and he looks like me. And I was so excited about that. I took that knowledge and took all of the books that I had read. And when I got into the military, I ended up getting locked in with Amway. And let me tell you what's so dynamic about that. It wasn't the fact that Amway is a super dynamic company. They do great things, don't get me wrong. But it was a good opportunity for me at the time because it was so structurally based. I learned so much about the industry of network marketing that it was so helpful for me. And I was able to take those nuggets along and go on and build when it was time to go on and build. So here we are. It's 2011 and I'm hunting for another network marketing opportunity. I'm not I'm not sitting back and being passive. I'm actually going out and recruiting for a recruiter. So I'm going out searching for a sponsor, and nobody is doing network marketing. I'm shaking hands, I'm meeting people, and I'm just ridiculous enough to believe that somebody is out there looking for me to be on their team. And I go to Panera Bread and I'm sitting there one day and I'm doing what I do. There goes some nuggets for you guys. I'm in Panera Bread doing what I do, and I run across this guy. He nodded at me. I stopped him and I hit him with the basics. Hey man, what's your name? He told me his name. What do you do? He told me what he does. And then he said, oh, by the way, I do. And I said, great, give me your number. Let's talk about that a little bit more. So I was probably one of the easiest people to recruit because I was looking. And maybe that's where we should be at. We should be in a place where we're looking for people who are looking for us. I was listening to a comedian, Gary Owens. He said, Gary Owens is a white guy. He said, listen, I like I like black women because black women like me. And that's probably where we should be at in our business. We should be at a place where I want to work with those who want to work with me. And it's not always evident that people want to work with you, but you need to kind of gauge where folks are. People want things out of life, right? And sometimes the thing that they want out of life needs a vehicle to get them to that thing. So if the vehicle is your business, right? You have to present your business in a way that's going to allow them to get from where they're at now to where they need to get to. So um, me and the gentleman, we spoke a little bit more, and I went to I went to a open house, one of the recruiting meetings, and it was a pretty good meeting. I left, and I got to tell you guys, when I left, I didn't sign up, and it's not because I didn't want to sign up. Make sure you capture what I'm about to say. I left and didn't sign up for one reason, and the reason is because nobody asked me to sign up. Nobody asked me to sign up that day. I was ready, money in pocket, ready to go. Guys, do not miss an opportunity to close on somebody because you're scared to ask for the close. That's one of the biggest things that I took away from that whole meeting. I will never walk into a meeting and not ask for the close. So let me jump right on into one of the things that I wanted to talk to you all about. I feel like as leaders, sometimes we don't really encompass or capture a lot of the things. And for those who know this stuff, I'm just preaching to the choir. So here we go. I wanted to talk about timelines, habits, and execution. Timelines, habits, and execution. I'm going to make this very quick. So I'm not going to hold up your Sunday. I'm sure that there's some football fans on here that want to sit back and watch the game. Uh, I'm going to take up a little bit of your time. We're going to get this information in, and then next year we'll go to the game. Sound fair for you guys? All right, perfect. So timelines. When we talk about this network marketing and we're within this industry, the timelines that we're talking about or that I'm talking about don't necessarily talk about going from entry to leveling up. I'm talking about how do we get from being ready to go and excited to moving into action. You got to think that as people come into your business, right? They're coming into your business and they're green, they're scared. There's a learning curve. There's a lot of things that have to happen before they get to the point where they're like, I'm ready to blast. But as a leader, as a coach, you need to be able to identify strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So, what is a strength? A strength is okay, somebody might have a pretty solid list. And if they have a pretty solid list, we don't want to say, I mean, we want in our minds, of course, we want to say, knock out 100 phone calls. But I've never made 100 phone calls for this business before. I've never made 100 phone calls to invite anybody to a party before. So let's just start off with making one phone call on a consistent basis, maybe every hour, every other hour. That way, we're building a consistency. We're getting that muscle strong. When you go to the gym and you lift weights, if you're doing a bench press, right, and it's the first time you do it, you shouldn't have any weight on the bar. You should actually do it without the bar so that you can get your range of motion right. So these phone calls are like range of motion. You got to get the range of motion right, and then you got to add the weight. And once you add the weight, then you can move forward and do 10 calls at a time, 20 calls at a time, 30 calls at a time. You know what I'm saying? That way, you're building that muscle, that resiliency, because the no's are going to come. And you got to make sure that as we're moving through this timeline of going from 1 to 100, we're, we're getting used to hearing no. And we understand that the no's aren't necessarily something that's coming because it, I used to I was always told it's just a part of the business. My mindset changed. No's are a part of the business. Yeses are a part of the business. But understanding that when you get a no, it has nothing to do with you personally. That helped me out so much. Like this person is saying no, and it don't have nothing to do with me. So maybe we can just check back with you in another 2 to 3 months. Maybe you need to see some success before you want to rock with me. And that's cool because everybody likes to move when people are winning. The beginning of the football season, we didn't have a lot of Ravens fans. They were doubters once we lost to the Browns. But we hit that 6 game winning streak, and now everybody's a fan. Everybody thinks that we're the best team in the NFL. But here's the thing, you got to stay consistent and true to who you are while going through the process. All right. So, timeline. We talked about making the phone calls. The phone calls come after you start to build the muscle, one call after another. You make the phone calls. Then what do? We got all of these people that's like, oh, I'm interested. What do we do now? What what in the world? I got these folks that are interested in changing their lives, and I don't know everything that needs to be put out into the atmosphere so that this person can be successful. That's why this thing is a team. So I had to really dig in and say, all right, I was in the military, and in the military, I'm used to working in squads, right? Between 7 and 8 people in a squad, we would rock. We would do what we needed to do, and we would move forward. That means I didn't have to know every single thing because I had a squad leader, and my squad leader had 10, 12 years more experience than I had. Your squad leader is your upline. Guys, utilize your upline. If your immediate upline doesn't know everything that you're asking, then go to the next person. I promise you that your upline isn't going to restrict you from information because information changes situations. Write that down. Information changes situations. Guys, this kind of stuff right here is a everybody all in task. And if you don't have the information, then you will not succeed. One of the things I really enjoy doing is making sure that if I'm entering into a new space, I read a lot of books. Now, for network marketing, what exactly do you read? You can't read on the product itself because people get excited about products and what products can do. People get excited about services and what services can do. But it's not about what the product or what the service can do because 9 times out of 10, it's going to be 99.9% how the person treats you. How you're treating people is going to make the biggest impact. People don't care about what you know really until they know that you care. So you got to show that you care. And I'm not talking about the falsetto showing that you care. I started a renewable energy company, and I started this company for one reason and one reason only. I started the company because I wanted to feed people who are homeless, hungry, and on hard times. I needed more capital to feed these folks than I currently had in my pocket. So if I didn't have the money in my pocket, I needed to make the money to be able to feed these folks. It's a lot of hungry stomachs out there. So, in order to get this task done, I needed to create something bigger than me. So, you have to look at what it is you do as something that's bigger than you. And if you don't look at it as something that's bigger than you, then you're always going to get caught up chasing the money. The money is going to run out at some point. Not saying that you're going to run out of money, but the chasing of the money gets tiresome because you can't chase something that's always in motion. When you're asleep, money is moving. So you have to be able to plug yourself into a cause that is bigger than you. And that cause might be, hey, I need to make sure that my nieces and nephews have a place to stay. I need to make sure that my mom is taken care of. I need to make sure that my dad has a little bit of something, something, because that dude is on disability, so you got to plug yourself into something that's greater than you because when you set your sights on something that's bigger than you, then you're able to pull out that part of you that has strength that you never knew that you had. So we're going to tie it to something bigger than us, even if it's the divine. Do it. You got to make sure that as you move forward, the things that you're moving forward for are purposeful and you're moving with great intention because the intent that you move with creates the energy that you put out into the atmosphere, and people will feel it. I promise you, people are gonna feel what it is you put out into the atmosphere, and it's either gonna be received or repelled. So, with that being said, let's tag some of that into our habits, because our habits are gonna create how we function on a day-to-day basis, right? So let's talk just a little bit about these habits. We made the phone calls. The phone calls are now the building blocks to building your business. You're going from one call to two calls, from two calls to four calls, from four calls to eight calls, from eight calls to 16 calls, so on and so forth. Now it's become a habit. We've exhausted everybody that we needed to talk to. What do we do now? What you do now is you make it a habit to tie meeting people to your everyday activity so it can become a habit. When you create a mechanism that allows you to meet people in your everyday life, let's say one of your habits is I'm gonna go to Starbucks in the morning and get me something to drink. I'm gonna get my latte and keep on pressing before I go to work. It's not gonna take you out of your day or out of your way, I should say, in order for you to turn to the person behind you and speak to the cashier. Once you build the rapport, because you see these folks, you see the cashier every day, you never know who's going to be who. Later on in life, you can always count the seeds in an apple, but you can't count the apples in a seed. You have to smile and speak to people because you do not know if that's going to be the next leader on your team. You do not know if this person is going to be the next $100,000 earner on your team. And if it is, you're going to be sad because the next person is going to talk to him and you can be like, dang, the cashier at this Starbucks is a $100,000 earner on somebody else's team. And who going to be mad? You going to be mad. You can't blame nobody but yourself. So you got to get yourself to a point where you're starting to speak to folks. All right, I get it. Everybody's not an extrovert. I'm not an extrovert. This is how I started. You ready, introverts? This is what I did. I smiled at people first. I stood in the mirror and I practiced smiling at myself. And then I went from smiling at people to smiling and saying hello. And then I went from smiling and saying hello to asking a question. Oh, here's the question. What's your name? My name is Raymond. What's your name? Boom. When you say my name is, what's your name? People tend to tell you their name back. Follow up question. What do you do for a living? Oh, great. Awesome. Listen, let's let's connect at some point. I'll give you my number. You give me your number. Let's have a cup of coffee. I mean, we're here in Starbucks. You obviously drink coffee. I'd love to talk to you a little bit more. I'm new to talking to people, so I figured I'd make a game of it. Make it fun for you. Because if you don't make it fun for you, what you're gonna do is you're gonna find this to be a burden. And if it's a burden, then you're not gonna set out to get your original goal done, which is actually making some money. Like it's fun making money. It's fun having new friends. It's fun meeting people. So make it all a game. Guys, you gotta play around with this thing and enjoy it. Because if you don't enjoy it, it's just gonna be a burden and it's gonna suck. So those are those are how that's my strategy for building habits. I tie a habit to something that I already do. If if I'm having a struggle with planning or something like that, then I'll put my planning journal on my pillow on my bed. So when I get in the bed, I don't put my head down without picking up my planning journal and saying, okay, let me write at least one line. Let me write at least two or three lines before I go to sleep. because one line over time, over the course of 100 days, is 100 lines. So when you go to set your plans up and you're planning, you can plan just like that, one line at a time. See, we like to think that people who are successful become successful overnight, and it happens through a process of a little at a time. When when people box, right? They learn how to box by the numbers. Your jab, 1, 2, 3, 4. You know, you got left jab, right cross, left hook, right uppercut. You're not just gonna jump out there and say, all right, time to jump in the ring with Wilder. We're not doing that. We're gonna learn simple by the numbers, by the book, systematic process. It's gonna get you to success. Because it's not success is not one of them things that happens by happenstance. It's very calculated. And I want all of you leaders to be masters in calculus, because once you have those calculated moves, calculated attacks, then you can be successful because you understand the numbers of the game. I know if I go out and I talk to 10 people, one of those people aren't going to join my business. So, how many people do I need to talk to accelerate my time frames? I need to talk to 10 people in a day at the beginning of the day, and then 10 people in the middle of the day, and then 10 people in the evening. I know that with 30 people seeing the information, 3 people are going to move. It might be a little bit more than 3 people, but bare bones minimum, it says 3 people will enter into my business. So now I got these 3 people in my business. What do? I I build with those 3 people over the next 90 days, and I build out a strong nucleus, a strong base over the 90-day period. Now, once you hit that 90-day period, it's going to take you 30 to 45 days to get everybody trained up and then start to identify leaders, because that's important. That's an important part of the timeline. Timeline, boom, review really quick. We get on the phone, we make the phone calls, we get out there and we start talking to people. We talk to 30 people, we get 3. We build a strong nucleus over the course of a 90-day period. Once we hit that 90-day period, and that's completed, we run through a 45-day period worth of training and getting people, everybody up to snuff. And while we're doing that up to snuff period, making sure everybody is reading, learning, engaging, getting to know how you run a team, run a meeting, um, going to those regional meetings or national conferences. That way, you can get yourself engaged and charged up, because it's hard pushing that ball forward and then dragging people with you. And then once you get a team, we're all pushing together. And then once the team starts to grow, everybody's excited. There's a lot of excitement that surrounds the team. We have to focus on this 45-day period, because the 45-day period is not just about training and identifying leaders. It's about gearing up for the next 90-day period. And it's about, as a leader, running for 90 days and assisting your team to run for 90 days, because those leaders that you identified, it's time for them to blossom. Like, we're going to pour into you as leaders, but then as it's time to blossom, it's your turn to start pouring into people. And that's why it's so important to be connected to your upline, your upline's upline, your upline's upline's upline, because that information flow is going to trickle down. They're going to see things on their board. Guys, you're either going to have a team that's going to be thermometers or thermostats. You got to choose which one you want to be. If you're going to be a thermometer, that means you're going to follow the trend of whatever's going on. And when it gets hot, you'll get hot. And when it gets cold, you'll get cold. But if you're a thermostat, you're going to control the temperature. You're going to control the pace of your team. And that's what you guys want to do. You want to control the pace of your team. I'm super excited for you guys. Now, this is just a little bit of information that I could pour out onto you guys, and I sure do hope it was helpful. Uh, how do you want to do this, Aisha? Do you want to do a Q&A? Do you? I got a
That was
couple things
great,
in
and I
mind.
feel like you like I don't even want it to stop, but I'm like I'm like so into it. So, do anybody thank you for what you gave us so far? I feel like we should do like a part two, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Maybe we could do a part two like in a couple of weeks or
Okay.
something. Anybody want to unmute and ask any questions relative to what we were talking about? Please unmute yourself and just introduce yourself and ask your question. Because, like he said, what did you say? Information changes situations. And so let's pick Mr. Raymond Brunner's mind and see what answers would he have for us. Anybody, go ahead, unmute yourself and ask anything. Or type it in the comments, type it in the chat section, and I'll read it out loud.
Okay, this is Sandra Lassiter. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
How do you, this is for Mr. Brenner, how do you push past your fear? I've done Mary Kay in the past, and I know this is something that I want to do, but the few people that I've spoken to, I don't feel that confident because like you said, I don't know what to do other than to tell them that it's a good product. It helps you, but then I get nervous or scared, and I feel like I don't know what I'm doing, so I don't follow up. I don't engage more. How do you push past those feelings of fear and being unsure?
For me, I kind of view fear a little bit differently than most people. Fear is something that you're supposed to have. It's supposed to be there. You're supposed to feel a little bit uneasy as you move forward, because if you don't, then you're not human. But you can't really say to yourself, "I'm gonna raise my hand tomorrow," and it's today. You know, and that's how I look at fear. It's not a real thing. Um, Fear is one of the things that comes to try to stop you from walking into your destiny. So you just got to continuously remind yourself that, fear is here to stop me from becoming great. It's up to me to be great or to not be great. And just stick to the game plan. I had to start writing down beforehand what I wanted. Like, what do I want the outcome to be from talking to these 10 people? And I would go and I would talk to these 10 people, and maybe the outcome wouldn't be what I wanted it to be. But if it got close to what I wanted it to be, then I would follow up. And sometimes you need to grab on to your upline, your mentor, whatever the case might be, and together you guys do the follow up. And that helped a lot for me, in transitioning from, you know, not being able to do everything that I wanted to do to being able to really knock out the things that I wanted to do. Just holding on to my mentor's hand and being handheld.
Okay, thank you.
My pleasure.
Thanks for your question, Miss Sandra. Anybody else?
Hi, my name is Alex Townsend from Haven, Connecticut.
Alex.
How you doing, sir?
Great.
First,
How
I want
about
to
you?
thank you for jumping on the call and educating us in this business. I know network marketing is not an easy business, but you can't give up either. So, in my area, it's anything from weight loss water to whatever it is, So, how do you get around that type of thing?
Can you repeat it? I'm sorry. You were kind of faint. I'm gonna put it into my ear one more time for me.
In my area, people will come to you and say, I'm using this weight loss water, so I don't want your tea anymore. So how do you get around that type of thing?
Well, when people say that they're using one thing versus another thing, you know, the very first thing you got to challenge with another question. What it is you're using, is it paying you? That's question number one. And question number two is, can you think of anything that you want to do that you can't do right now, based on the things that you're using? And maybe I say that in a snobbish way, but I always think that if we have the opportunity, let's really bring this back. Sales is the number one thing that makes people wealthy, hands down, in the world. Sales is the number one thing that makes people wealthy. Um, if you're using a product, right? I'm never going to talk bad about that product. But what I am going to ask you is, the product that you're using, have they paid you lately? And then start talking, challenge from that perspective, because a lot of people like to use things because of brand recognition. It's easy to grab. It's, whatever the case might be. And it could be a great product. But here's the thing. Great products that you buy from the store puts equity in the owner's pocket, in the store owner's pocket. It puts equity in the brand owner's pocket. How about you get yourself a couple of write-offs? Because right now we're in an economy where the write-offs are in abundance, and not only save yourself some money, but make a little bit of money as well, if that's what you want to do. That sound about fair, Alex?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you, everybody, for being on. The call is about to expire on its own. So we will schedule part 2 with Mr. Raymond Brunner. And I look forward to seeing everyone apply what we learned today. Let's have a talk about it in the group. Let's talk about some things we learned in our Divine Life group. Thanks, Mr. Brunner, and I will